What's up, y'all? It's RAZY again, and this is your cosmic check-in for this week. I know it is Friday. It's Friday, right? I actually never know what day of the week it is, but it's Friday. It's the end of the day, but we're going to start the week off with today. And what is good? Everyone joining. Um, Excited to be here. Starting now. Let me just do my usual, pin my comments, and then we will get into it because this is another interesting week as per usual. But I kind of want to talk about some of the stuff going on right now. If you don't know, today the moon is in Aquarius. What's good, sis? The moon's in Aquarius, and I encourage everyone to. Actually, I'm going to say this a little bit later, but if you're already here, I encourage you to look into the sky and actually look at the moon, because if you look at the moon, you'll see Jupiter on, especially right now, you'll see Jupiter on the left of the moon, and you'll see a little tinge that's Saturn on the right side of the moon. And it's really cool to see because it puts into perspective the fact that the planets are really there, that what is in the chart is really happening right now. So that's something cool to do. If you haven't looked in the sky and looked at the moon tonight, go look at it. Go look at Jupiter, go look at Saturn. Take that in. There's with the moon in Aquarius, we're taking in a lot of higher understandings and higher knowledge, and it doesn't come with the language of Earth. It doesn't come in a way that you're going to talk like we're talking now. It's actually more of a light code, and you're integrating codes, especially whenever right now, in general, whenever the moon goes into Aquarius, but right now, the fact that Jupiter is there retrograde, Saturn is there retrograde, we're downloading a lot of different codes for what the energy is, for what's going on in your life. And if you're open to listening to the cosmic waves, right, not the words, if you read all the way in between the lines of the energy, you're going to gain a lot of knowledge, and clarity and insight that could just come pretty much out of nowhere, right? That's basically what happens every time the moon is in Aquarius. And if you don't know, my moon's in Aquarius, so this is an energy that I am used to, right? And I also have Saturn on my moon as well. So, what does Saturn in Aquarius do? Well, way back in the day, Saturn ruled over Aquarius, even though it still technically does. But this is something that was talked about earlier on in the astrology game. And Saturn ruling Aquarius, it is about, since it kind of has a natural order within that sign, it does understand that this higher knowledge, that there's cosmic laws, right? Saturn in Aquarius is really governed by these cosmic laws, and we're downloading a lot of these cosmic laws, really getting in tune with all of the laws of the universe, right? If you've never looked up like the 48 laws, I know a lot of people have heard of the law of attraction, but there's a lot more that goes on. And I kind of want to just get into this one because there's a lot of energy. Right now, or today, the moon and Saturn has been squaring Venus in Scorpio, right? So the reason I call this week all or nothing, because we're really we're going all in. We're going all in every area of our life. And if you find that you're not really going all in a certain area, it's probably because it's not in your alignment. It's probably because that person isn't aligned with the path that you're taking now, right? And this could provide a lot of hard truths, a lot of deep things, once again, resurfacing that has been resurfacing since last week. But now this week is when, especially with this square energy right now, today, you can get this vibe of, fuck, this is real. And you see how things have shaped because of these laws of the universe that are not the same as the laws that are played out in different countries and states, that they don't give a shit about the laws of the earth, of your government, Okay, the laws of the universe are actually, it shifts and it breaks down those laws as well, right? Because the rules that we give ourselves, it's more of a mechanism that we use when we give ourselves rules to kind of go about our lives and stay sane. But Aquarius too is an energy that isn't necessarily the sanest energy. It's a little kooky, it's a little weird, or it's a lot weird. And Venus in Venus in Scorpio is also not playing games. It's not, this is about getting down to the real whatever is underneath the surface. And what is underneath the surface is now getting brought up in such a way that you have to learn how to harmonize what is coming up. You have to learn how to really be okay, right, with the things that has shaped other people in your life, the things that have shaped you, and really put it to rest, because where you're at now, you needed every single one of your experiences to get you here. I also want to talk a little bit about Mars in Libra, because Mars is 1 degree right now, and it came into Libra basically last week. Well, I also have Mars in Libra, right? I'm a Libra with Mars on my sun, and let me tell you a little bit of how that energy goes. You see, Mars in Libra, Mars doesn't like to be in Libra because it naturally rules Aries, the opposite sign, right? And in Aries, it's ready for the fight. But in Libra, for example, in my life, I've been pissed off at people. People, whether it be strangers or weird dramatic scenarios I've been in, where I am so pissed off and everything in me wants to just deck a motherfucker in the face. But there's this overwhelming voice in my head that goes, wait now, you can solve this issue by just talking about it. And it's kind of unfair, right? They say Mars is in detriment in Libra because you don't get to just punch that motherfucker in the face, right? You have to sit and listen to all sides. And it's really frustrating. I'm not gonna lie. It's been a very frustrating energy because it kind of feels like, what, am I never gonna get that satisfaction ever in my life? Maybe, but only if it's justified. And it's only justified when you give people chances to kind of redeem themselves in the moment. So this is the kind of energy we're going into where because of the things that are revealing itself and now coming up as a challenge to kind of download this higher cosmic essence, your higher self would go about this problem very differently than the self that's in this moment, right? The self that just wants to fight people, the self that just wants to tell people they ain't shit. And at the end of the day, with all this energy, even with that Mars and Libra, it's like, no, you're not gonna get that okay or that blackout moment. That's what Mars and Libra doesn't do. Mars in Cancer might have a blackout moment. Mars in Aries probably won't black out. They'll just be conscious the whole time they're in a fight because they just love it. But Mars in Libra is like, no, we're not gonna let you go into this because you don't know what this person has been dealing with today. You don't know how bad their situation might be. And it urges you to use your words instead of your actions. So you're gonna find yourself either getting really quiet because you don't really know what to say, and that's okay too, or you're gonna find yourself, especially if you have strong air sign, having a quick comeback, but also one that is a little passive, but that might kind of leave room for that other person to grow, that other person to sit back and reflect, because it's a very reflective energy that we're in. And like I said, we're in a reflective energy and we're downloading a lot because it really is all or nothing right now. And I don't know how y'all feel about that. And yeah, the Moonual, grace is it, right? Mars and Libra will really force you to be graceful. And inside you could really not want to be, but on the outside, on the surface, your reactions should right now not really, they should be more stoic, they should be more soft. And you'll find that it might be a little bit easier to do so, but you also might be mad at yourself for doing it, right? As if you're supposed to do something else. But the reality is, some things, it's just better to save face, right? This is something that I also preach a lot. It's sometimes a lot better to save face and wait till the right opportunity comes up for you to actually speak on how you feel, and maybe let the situation play itself out, right? You want to let the situation play itself out before you jump to conclusion, because you might find that you let it all out, but then later you're like, oh shit, I didn't know that they were dealing with that, or I didn't know that I was getting it wrong in my own perception. Because don't forget, the North Node is still in Gemini. We're still playing this game with stories. We're still playing this game with stories, perception, and what it takes to live our story more than being played by another person's story, right? So that's a lot to just jump in, but every time the moon is in Aquarius, I channel like even more. Also, that's a good rule of thumb if you ever want to get a reading with me and you really want some like higher knowledge. Check when the moon's in Aquarius and book then, because I'll just be on one. But always the long game, yes. And right, saving face is a great strategy, and it really is. And that's what Libra, and especially Mars in Libra, and what this Libra season will be all about. Even with that Venus that's in Scorpio, that's also feeling the intensity under the surface. And that's why it could be a little hard right now that it's squaring Saturn and earlier the moon in Aquarius, because even with that Aquarius energy is like, no, you have to practice detachment. It's going to be better for you, because it's okay. Ultimately, it's okay if other people are not aligned with you anymore. You have to basically be okay with that, and gracefully say I love you, and have compassion still, even if you know and you can see that they're walking down a path that's inevitably going to hurt them. You can't save everybody. But when the situation is really about justice, when you're in a situation that right now, especially today, even a little bit of tomorrow, when you're in a situation that you're sticking up for something that is right for yourself, and you know that person needs to be held responsible or accountable. I'm gonna talk through the sirens, or I'm gonna try. Nope, it didn't work. Just gonna wait. So now that the sirens are gone, when you're in a situation and you know that, you have to stand up for something that is ultimately right, just make sure that right thing that you're standing up for is more about you than it is about anything else. The other thing with Mars and Libra that I've learned, right, because I have Mars and Libra on my sun, is that you should not be getting in the middle of any debates or any issues right now as if you can balance it out and make it good for you. The best thing for you to do is to go in your room and close the door and do your own thing. Is that Saturn in Aquarius, detach a little bit. Be in your own world, right? Because you might think you're helping, but you might be overdoing it. So make sure that you're not doing too much to solve people's problems, that you're really only addressing your own, and you're seeing how the problems that are going around you with other people are actually storylines that play out in your own head. That's what Aquarius is trying to show you. That's what the moon in Aquarius is trying to show you. That really, even the issues you see in others, it might not be happening to you, but in somewhere in you, there's characters that are playing out that story too. Or else that kind of issue wouldn't be in your matrix at all. This is how we learn how to create our matrix in a way that we do live in harmony. And we are always in this state of, missing the problems. Like where you're walking down the block, but you had a perfectly timed getting from your house to the train, when somebody just a few steps behind you could have fell on something, could have gotten catcalled by a million dudes, and now they're having a horrible day. It really is that, it's really that simple, right? It could just take a few steps of you keeping your composure, keeping your grace, and moving forward for you to have a way better person than the person directly right next to you, behind you, walking in the same quote unquote matrix. This is how we really see the difference too between the world you're creating and somebody else's world. You could be side by side with somebody and they're having such a different perception and time than you are. Pay attention to those little things because you're learning right now which path that you are on, right? We are all learning right now where we're ultimately going and what we're ultimately going to start to gain and the work that it's going to take, because this also has to do with work. Saturn does not come without it. So there's a lot of mental work, because the other big theme for the whole week, for a while, for actually the theme for the beginning of this age, is mental genocide. There is mental genocide going down, right? And I got that from my soul partner who's in the chat right now. Mentioned it earlier, and it's true. I had to write it down because the war that I've talked about before in this matrix is about your mind. And if your mind can get taken over, then every other part of you will be consumed. Because if they consume what's going on in here, which most people have not learned successfully how to get out of, then you're going to be controlled essentially, right? Even if you're in a position, in a scenario, like I said, with someone who's next to you that seems so carefree and living their best life while you're in misery. So pay attention to where you are, because it kind of matters. So, right, so now we're still talking about the 17th. I'm still talking about Friday, and I'm going to get into the other days. But the other thing about today is that Neptune at 21 degrees in the last decan of Pisces is in conjuncting the Mercury in Libra. And so we have Mars in Libra, but then we have Mercury in Libra, which is even more of that energy of, hey, you just can't, you have to play devil's advocate in your own life right now. You have to play devil's advocate with other people, right? And even your own self, and what you're conceptualizing of your future. You want to just be like, all right, well, then what if this happens, and what if this happens? And it's not because those things are going to happen. It's just you're going to get a lot of these quote unquote fears uprooted if you start to kind of reflect on where you're going and the what ifs. And then when those things uproot Venus in Scorpio, you're able to realize, oh, this is my issue, right? This is what I'm gonna have to work at, because that doesn't exist. That exists in my old story, but it does not exist in this new path, right? This is something so subtle to understand, that everything has shifted around you, that all of your DNA has shifted, that your mind has shifted into this new place. So it is subtle, and to tap in, you do have to kind of sit with the delusion, right? But and look around you at the delusion, and look at how other people are reacting, right? Or how much of their narrative, Mercury and Libra, especially when in terms of relationships, or just one-on-one conversations, and different kinds of partnerships in all areas of life, especially there. How is these supposed delusions, right? These things that are happening but might not really be happening to you. How are they actually affecting the way now that you speak to others and treat others? Have you found that you have random prejudices that you didn't even know you had? It's a time to tailor and understand that in yourself, so that you can choose to vibrate higher and become a more compassionate light being by downloading those light codes and living by the laws of the universe, not the laws of of your government, really, right? It's not to say that all of those laws aren't important. Yeah, of course, some aspects of them we need, but there's laws of nature and the universe that you need to tap into in order to really get through this time, uh, in the way that is gonna really be beneficial to you, and yeah, the universe, right? Just to break that down, you and I verse, right? So you and I, right? You and I verse. That's how you spell it. You and I verse, speak. All right. Like really think about it. The universe is basically a matrix too. So within this world, it is what we say. And Mercury and Libra really shows you how important it is to think about other people's feelings, to take into consideration how your words might be affecting the other person. And it's not because you're supposed to choose to make their life happier or better. It's just that you want to be aware of how powerful the spell you can spin on somebody else's mind. You don't want to be controlled. So then why enforce that control on others, right? It's a contradiction to what you want in your own universe. So the way we speak to each other, it matters. One of the single-handed things that I think is the problem with this whole planet is the way we relate to each other. Is the fact that we're not honest. Is the fact that we're quick to lie because we want to please or be pleased. And that's a problem, right? Because really, it doesn't create anything good. It only creates misunderstanding, miscommunication, and it starts to ripple effect out into a very disastrous, violent world. And that's not what we're trying to do. Think of the world where you actually just lay it out how it is, and someone can either accept you or walk away, and you just have to sit with that and be like, okay. Because you know if somebody walks away, it's just not aligned. Once again, we have to give other people power too. In order to be a very powerful person, you have to learn that being powerful doesn't rob another person of their power. You actually give power to others in order to receive more power. So think about that. Just think about it. That's all I'm saying. So we're going to move on to the 18th. And the 18th, the moon is still in Aquarius for a little while, and it inconjuncts the sun in Virgo at 25 degrees. And then the moon moves into Pisces, right? So now, what is that going to be like, right? The moon, first of all, in conjuncting the sun in Virgo, is making that adjustment once again of how can you be a little bit more like the higher version of yourself? How could you live in this cosmic order a little bit more? And really understanding and looking at your actions and the little things you do on a daily basis, right? So these aren't like really big things. These are, once again, making that small adjustment. In conjunction means adjustment. So it's making that small adjustment into shifting to this higher order that when we shift to, we realize that we can beat or glitch the matrix of our life. And then the moon moves into Pisces, and of course it gets a little bit more emotional, it gets a little bit more feely. You might get a lot of messages from music rather than words, and it's going to then square the north node, right? So it's gonna like move throughout the day, get to 4 degrees, and square the north node. And when the moon squares the north node, this is another opportunity that you are receiving in seeing how the things you believe become true later, right? So some of the things you believe, especially when other people can see you and tell you that they see something different in you, when you have that belief, it eventually becomes a knowing. It's really simple, y'all. Reprogramming yourself is all about repetition and consistency. That's another thing that, Saturn and Aquarius is teaching you. It's all about consistency. And that inconjunct that it makes earlier is going to remind you of that. That it's about consistency. Remember the little thing. Remember to tell yourself, to correct yourself. Because if you don't do it, no one's going to do it for you. And even if people do it for you, they're going to get tired of doing it, because they're going to be like, you know what, apparently you like to be this person who says that they're not beautiful all the time, and this person who says that they don't have, anything worth living for. And then it gets really hard for other people to match you because they want to keep moving higher, right? So you're putting yourself in a box, and you're limiting yourself. Only you can limit yourself. For some reason, to certain ears, this isn't true, right? So it depends on where you're at. If when you hear these words and you're like, no, I just don't have any talent. No, I just don't, blah, 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 blah. This is your programming. It's your responsibility. It's your responsibility to say, all right, maybe that's true, but maybe not. That's where you could start. If saying the opposite doesn't make you feel good because it makes you still feel like you're lying to yourself, imposter syndrome, whatever, just say, hey, it's a possibility that I am really talented and I can't see it. Maybe everyone else who's telling me that I am, maybe they're not lying. Just start there and making those small minor adjustments, because when the moon moves into Pisces, we're going to start to feel again. And we're going to start to have to process and shed something, shed some in whatever way we have to shed, right? So it could be tears, it could be hysterical laughter, it could be tears and then laughter and then anger. And you have to allow yourself to understand that your emotions are the literal weather inside of you. So inside of you, your water, all the elements, the fire that made you, the air, the material, it's like the weather. It constantly moves and changes, and you have to just go with the flow of those changes throughout the next few days, especially because we're coming into this full moon in Pisces. And if you don't know, I am on the Moonual for every new moon and full moon. You can find the Moonual in the chat and come join us, and get some of the downloads. But if not, do your own releasing ceremony for this new moon, because every time it's in Pisces, it's just a little bit more supernatural. It's a little bit more touching the behind the veil. And you want to really, especially now since it's squaring Gemini North Node at its first decan in Gemini, 4 degrees, very baby degree. It's the little things. The conversations we have, and the way that we turn our pain into jokes and laugh about it and make it funny, right? Because that's the challenge, is to look at the stuff that has happened and kind of laugh and have that moment of, wow, I can't believe that I fell for that, or I was under that spell way when. And make it funny. It's okay to laugh at yourself. It's okay. The most enlightened people, the most in tune people, laugh at literally anything. Because, and I've said it before, life is a joke. Life is this big quote unquote joke, and that doesn't make it any less real. It's just things aren't as serious as we think they are. As much as we have to bring a level of seriousness to our life, we still have to learn that the paradoxes are always true, and we're learning how to bring this duality within our own brain, within life, to one. So where there is pain, there is also pleasure, there is also laughter, there is also something to alchemize. And we are alchemizing for this full moon. So, what do you choose to alchemize? What pain are you choosing to redo? I jumped a little bit to the full moon, but this is still starting tomorrow when the moon moves into Pisces, and now we're getting into the vibes and we're feeling it, right? And let me just see what, right, the mood to release. Yes, exactly, the mood to release, so I have room to receive. Thank you, Rosa. Like, that's what it is, right? You always, every month we experience full moons because every month we're supposed to release something. A woman's body does it very naturally, right? By releasing and having a monthly cycle and letting go of something that didn't get the chance to fertilize. That's okay. Not everything, not every dream is something we actually want. Sometimes we get dreams and ideas about things that are better off in somebody else's hand because we're a collective. So we share all of the same ideas. And with this Gemini energy, right? The North Node there, you're kind of learning that too. That sometimes you might get an idea, but if your ego attaches to that idea as if you're the one who's supposed to do everything that you're coming up with and this is only belongs to you, then you're going to run into some issues with yourself and how much you love yourself. Because first of all, you can't get it all done, right? There's other people in your collective that could benefit off of your ideas. And if you let those thoughts go back out, then through telepathy, they ping themselves to someone else who has maybe more time, more of the resources to get something done. Because it's not just about us. It's about what we're offering to the collective. It's about what we're offering to the community. So if you allow yourself to release these ideas, these visions that maybe haven't happened, that maybe they are for you to accomplish at a later date, maybe they're not for right now, maybe they were part of your old story, they can find somebody else, another energetic vessel, right? Another higher self who says, yes, that would be perfect for us in this person's storyline. Let's give it to them so they can play out that story. Because that's really what we're doing. Right, let's see. So the full moon probably is in the 21st in Europe. Yeah, it's the 20th here. Let me just say I let go of eggs. Yeah, I let go of eggs a while ago too. But not those kinds of eggs. And learning to share the wealth. Recently realized that I am more abundant when I'm giving the most. And yeah, right? So one of the big storylines that we're releasing, right? And I'll actually get into it. I'll move on from the 18th and we'll go to the 19th. Because I'll talk about that. The abundance thing and what we're letting go as a collective when it comes to money. Just remind me if I somehow forget. But on the 19th, we're going to see that Mercury is trining Jupiter, and it is also squaring Pluto. So it's making this double kind of transit going on where it's getting a gift from Jupiter. It's having like an easy time there, but it's having a hard time with the breakdown. So you could find yourself still challenged by your immediate surroundings, and basically the what karma in your life is playing out. So there's something I learned about Pluto that's really important. I learned this from KRS Astrology. If you've ever seen him, he teaches a lot of Vedic, but he really breaks down like the metaphysics behind the planets in a beautiful way, very different than I've heard from most people. So Pluto is here to check us about our past lives, basically, right? And the karma that even if we came into this lifetime and we might have redone our karma and did the best we can and chose to live a more noble life, we still have to deal with consequences that, that come from either our DNA or our past lives. There's consequences to certain things you're not going to understand or you're going to hate that you have to go through. And this consequence that we're dealing with, this Pluto kind of karma, is in Capricorn, right? So it is bringing up it's partially bringing up the money stuff for us because we're learning how even though we came from this patriarchy and we're trying to blend the gap between, the feminine and masculine, and we're trying to live balanced with each other and in ourselves, I hope, right? Even though we're trying to do that, we still have these patriarchal mindsets, which is also about not spreading the wealth, right? Hoarding it all, making all the money, and never stopping, and greed. These are the things that we are transmuting for lifetimes and lifetimes of our parents and different people on the planet, and we're doing it together whether we like it or not. We're alchemizing some of this karma together as a collective. So the places where your job doesn't really align or your money doesn't really align with this higher law, this cosmic law, this Jupiter expansion, that you're expanding your spiritual self, you're expanding what you want to learn and what you want to take on. Those things are gonna, especially if you are deciding that, certain things right here on the surface on earth, they have nothing to do with me, but it is playing out in my life, but I am still protected. I am still doing this not only for myself but for other people. Then you can kind of sit within the trine with Mercury and Jupiter and talk more about these bigger laws of the universe. Sometimes it feels annoying to talk about them because it's like, okay, yeah, cool, the law of attraction or rhythm or whatever freaking law, and that's cool, that sounds great, but like in my life I'm not getting that back. I haven't manifested shit for myself. I just lost my job. But you gotta understand the higher order here, that Pluto is breaking shit down for you to let go of this idea of these old ways that you've handled money, that you've handled work, so that you can actually do things like share the wealth and not feel like you're gonna lose and you're not gonna be able to pay your bills, or like you have to be the only CEO of this company and somebody else once again can't like have a company like yours because it means competition. That's not true, right? I am not the only astrologer out here. I am not the only reader out here. I will 100% recommend all these amazing people that do this to you if I don't work, right? Or if you don't resonate with me, or I'm just going to recommend them because they have something to offer you. They have a piece of that puzzle to offer you. I don't need to be the only one. And that's something that we have to realize, that there's room for all of us. So we're having those challenges of letting go of those bigger concepts. And it's a karmic thing. It's karma, and that's okay, right? We're shedding a lot of that. So allow yourself, especially the day before the full moon, to sit with some of those patriarchal ideas that are still in your mind, that still play out in your life, where you're like, damn, do I really do that? Even though I say I'm not about this, I kind of still play this out when it comes to something as small as buying food, putting it in the fridge, and seeing somebody go eat your food, and then you're upset because it's like, that was my motherfucking food. That was my food. So what's the problem, right? This ownership problem that is really what Pluto and Capricorn is highlighting, that we really don't own shit, right? We don't own the money that's in our hands. This money, that paper, it don't even exist. It might not even 100% be as valuable as it is right now in the next upcoming years. So we are getting programmed out of this idea that we need as much things as we think we need, so that we can slow our asses down, so that when things do shift, we're not feeling so crazy, like we just lost everything, like what do I do now? We have community. We have our tribes. Yeah, well, we see, but that's the difference, right? So, Cheris, you're a mom, right? And those are your kids, and no, you can have your own snacks, but this is why it's also like, well, hide your snacks a little bit better in the fridge, so that you are always good. Leave one out and let them fight for that one. That's a little of the Saturn thing too, right? Where Saturn literally is like, you know what? If y'all try to overrule me, I'm just gonna eat you. But that's a whole other story. But that's a good one. So, okay. So let's move on. Or let me see if there's anything else for the 19th. Now, that's really kind of all I wanted to say for the 19th. The other square energy that we'll be feeling is still that Venus and Saturn. We'll definitely still be feeling that. And there's an in conjunction between Venus and Chiron happening. Oh, Scorpio moon, right? Right. You already know. You already know. You already know exactly where to put it. So yeah, so Venus in Chiron is making that in conjunct. And this is showing us how our identity, right? The bigger ways that we define ourselves, it's also okay if we have to let some of those things go too, right? Some of those things that we might have to reposition ourselves with other people and other places and other communities. And if you find yourself even in life, your personality, you might, there's some people out here going through little bits of identity crises, right? You're not the only one. If you're going through a moment where you're like, holy fuck, do I need to like rebrand my whole self because this just doesn't work anymore and I don't get it, I don't know what I want to do, I don't know where I'm going, that's okay. Allow yourself to follow the emotions. Adjust who you are to what you really feel for versus trying to logic it out and trying to say like this is who I am because I dress like this or I have this kind of job. We have to really go into our desires and into those fields, and the moon in Pisces will help with that because it's also going to be trining Venus, right? So you'll be able to on the 19th and on this full moon kind of look at your whole life, review, especially because we're at the end of Virgo season. We'll get to review the things that we're doing, the things that we're interested in, whatever it is that when you look at it and you're like, let's say you want to get into doing tarot or astrology and you're like, oh yeah, that's exciting, like that feels good, I want to, like I would like to do that. Remember, don't let that Chiron or the doubt, this old story play out like, no, I can't do that, I can't do that. Because if it feels good, if it makes you excited, if it, if it sparks your lower chakras in a way, then it's a good sign. It's a good sign. You want to keep that option. You want to hold that close to yourself. You don't want to belittle yourself. You want to be able to follow your desires and the new ones that might be coming up. That's like, oh, maybe I am a healer. Maybe I can move to another side of the world and start learning about herbs and farming, and maybe that's where I want to be. Whenever the moon's in Pisces, you want to dream like you've never dreamed before. You don't want to hold yourself back at all. You really want to sit within those visualizations. You want to meditate on it. You want to write about it. You want to listen to music and cry about it. You want to do those things because, like I said before, it's more supernatural than any of the other moon signs, really. And you just get to feel, and this is where you get to play out that law of attraction best, because you get to just really believe for a second that anything is possible, because it is. Now it could either be that in the good way, or it could be on the bad side where it's just you're becoming your worst nightmare and you're choosing to escape from your reality instead of jumping into a new reality in your brain. Because honestly, that's the power of your system, which your brain is a computer, your computer, but your soul is behind the brain, outside of the brain, everywhere and nowhere at the same time. And it uses the brain to understand reality. So if you allow your soul to speak, right, on Sunday, Monday, when we get into this full moon, you can really tap into what you really love, right? And then you start to move in that direction. That's really how it works, right? It's slow, steady progress, but the jumps actually happen way faster than you realize. And when you turn around, you're like, holy shit, I did this much within this much amount of time. I could have never seen that happening. So you want to leave room for the unknown. You want to love the unknown. That's what this in conjunct is about, is like knowing that, hey, I might not know exactly who I am, and I'm fine with that, and I don't exactly have my purpose all the way down, but I love the unknown, and I'm willing to jump and to take the risk and to step into the darkness in order to really find it, to really make changes in your life. um, right, so yep, let's see what else is going on. Right, the Pisces moon is exciting. It can feel sometimes like a lot of emotion, so don't be down on yourself if you find that it's just really emotional for you for those days, because if you are feeling really emotional, you just have a lot to let go of. So allow yourself to let go of it. It's the Pisces moon is the best moon to release with. It's the best because you're now in the womb waters. You're in the waters of your womb. And we all have a womb, men and women, right? The womb symbolizes a space where creations start to form. It's really your imagination, right? So you're sitting within the waters of your imagination, and you get to really release out so much. And if you can't sit and think about the beauty of your future, just allow yourself to sit with your reality right now and allow yourself to release it all if you don't like it. And it's very metaphysical, but it's a powerful practice. Do it in front of a mirror. Mirror work is very powerful, especially because we have all the air energy still. um, Mirror work is basically looking into that next dimension, into another version of yourself, and confronting yourself. It's super powerful, and if you put it into practice, you'll see the results in your own life. But don't be scared of what comes up, because it's all within you. It really is all within you. So now we're on Monday the 20th, the full moon. And I just really love that all the air energy is highlighted. We have the trine between Jupiter and Mercury exact. And then we have Mars and the North Node is also making a trine. And it's also exact at 3 degrees. So this is a birth. 3 is the natural birth, right? 1 plus 2 equals 3. It takes 2 people to make a third baby, right? Or 2 forces to create like one thing. So this is a lot about the balance of that, and coming into relationship breaking points and new perceptions. So you can be going through a relationship breakthrough, right? Where you really come to new ideas about your tribe, or like you start to connect further with them, even on an esoteric level, right? You start to connect closer, and it's a really good full moon to kind of really get closer to those through sharing your feelings, through sharing your thoughts, and being very unapologetic about it, and being very receptive to what other people say about you. It's a great day for sharing. And that's another thing too, that even like if you get to share these feelings with at least one person in your life, expect there to be this upgrade. And we're really upgrading a lot of relationships. The relationships are getting new directions now, so the ones that do work in your life, the people who have walked off of your path while you're on yours, the other more people will come into your path and be like, hey, yeah, I guess we're doing the same thing here. I guess we have the same idea. And you both get a new direction, right? And with that new direction, you want to really breathe a lot of life into it. And it's not about necessarily planning every detail, because remember, when you get a full moon, the sun and moon are opposite within opposite signs. So the moon's in Pisces and the sun's in Virgo. So it is going to make you finalize certain plans and be like, okay, this feels good, this feels great, we're gonna do this, maybe we should think about this. But you don't want to completely do that. You also want to take that same energy of the dreaming and the visualizing and like sprinkle a little good on there and be like, yeah, so we're gonna go on this trip, and We're gonna finally get to do this. And this could be with friendships, partnerships, business. Like, think about how great it can be, right? Think about, well, if I'm in this position and I've actually learned all my lessons and integrated everything I was supposed to integrate, then this round is going to be fruitful. We're actually going to see the fruits. That ending of Virgo season, we're going to see the fruits of what these relationships are going to do for us. We're really seeing now how sweet it can be, how sweet everything can feel. And we have to just allow ourselves to feel it. Don't deny it. If you start to feel a little good too, don't think like, oh, this is just for the moment, so what's the point? No, just allow yourself to enjoy and try to put a little bit of more joy into your scenarios. And like I said, share your stories of what you want to do, of where you want to go. Be as transparent as possible and be receptive and listen to everyone else. That's another thing about Mercury and Libra. It's about listening. It's about leaving the space open to not to stay detached, and but still hold space in a way where somebody else can feel valid in their delusional ways, even if it's for a moment, right? You don't always have to check somebody. You don't always have to give the advice. Sometimes people just need to go a little crazy. And I mean, the moon, will have passed directly over Neptune, so it could get a little, it could get a little unexplainable. It could get a little bit like, what is going on? And I don't even have the words. But you want to find those words anyway, even if they don't make sense. Even if they make absolutely no sense, say the things. However they come out, just let it be, right? But yeah, a lot of new direction shifting within relationships, and a lot of breaking points, new checkpoints. Basically, you're reaching a new checkpoint, and so this place that you've arrived at, let's say something happens in the next few months where you kind of feel like you're off track. You're gonna respawn at this place that we're coming into for this full moon. This is our next respawn place until the next more major energy comes up. But this is where we're gonna keep coming back to if we don't know how to integrate that lesson and that energy and move forward. Then we're going to arrive right back here of how it felt and how it feels right now. But that's also a good thing, because you're not going to go backwards. You're not going to respawn somewhere else. You are graduating in a sense from something in you. There is some kind of graduation happening. So just pay attention to it. Just be aware. The key to the matrix is awareness. The key to this mental genocide playing out is awareness. And if you have that, if you can see, that's it. If you can use all your eyes to see, you actually learn that there's nothing to do. All you got to do is see it. Because once you see certain things, you can't go back. So this is also a full moon that if we really pull the veil back, we're going to see certain things that we're going to be like, wow, that's life shaping and life changing. And now that I see that, I have to just keep going, because if I go back, I would really be living a lie. And so there is no room for that. So stay clear of living a lie. Stay clear of feeding your demons, because that moon in Pisces can do that too. It is a very, you feed the demons and they get bigger and they grow and grow and grow, and then it's like impossible to deal with. But it's never really impossible. Let's say you have really big demons. Remember, we're getting to that checkpoint where it's like you defeated those demons, so now you're on to the next level, and you don't have to go back and defeat those same ones anymore. You're getting ready to encounter new ones. You're getting ready to encounter more bosses, so to speak, of that level. But you don't have to, you can have that sigh of relief that certain other things are over. And they will never be the same again, for better or for worse. So now we're moving on to the 21st. I hope y'all are enjoying the channel today. You know, it just feels good to be able to use my voice in an authentic way to myself, and that's what I truly hope to give everybody, especially, you know, as the moon and Aquarius vibes and whatnot. Like, it does, I hope you guys are able to stand with your own values, your own traits and characteristics, and just be that, and not give a shit. Not give a whole any shit about what anyone else has to say. I promise you, you will find your tribe that way. That's like the only way you find your tribe. And thank you. I love y'all. But okay, so then the 21st. So what happens on Tuesday? Well, on Tuesday, the moon goes into Aries, and it starts to creep its way up to that Chiron in Aries, and some major doors that you have closed in your past to certain traumas, you will get the chance to open those doors again. You will get the chance to open those doors and to go in those rooms and clean those rooms. So we're getting that funnel back into our deep history, because we're talking about identity again, and we're talking about that, you know, that identity issue of coming into this quote unquote new world and realizing that we have to redo ourselves somehow. We have to undo ourselves and build ourselves back up to gain this strength, this mental strength, this fortitude, and to be warriors within our own life. So in order to be a true warrior and fight for your family, your kids, yourself, your friends, your tribe, you have to also be able to face that apocalyptic world inside of yourself that has also, you know, been forgotten about and been untouched for a while. And that's kind of like one of the things that we're getting to see and deal with. And the moon then, it also opposes Mars. So once again, Mars would rather be where the moon is. Mars would rather be in Aries, but it's in the opposite side of Libra. So this becomes like a day where you could get really mad at yourself. You can get really upset at something that comes up, and be careful not to be so mad at yourself that you kind of traumatize yourself more, right? It's okay to be upset at certain things that you might realize about you, and you might realize I could have not been through that if I just had known what I know now, right? But the reason why we're opening these old doors is to show you, like, what you know now in this moment is what is going to save you in the future. And so it is important to have that moment with yourself where you get to kind of mourn that old self as well, and use it as a reflection point, because once again, the air energy is still in the air, and it is a lot about just your thoughts and your thinking, and just the words that are playing out in your head, and seeing those bigger characters in your life, because cardinal energy is very much about characters, right? And the different characters that have been living in your brain, that have been disguised as you, when it's not really you like it is, right? Because you're allowing it to kind of pay rent in your mind and live there. But you can evict certain people that have been trapped in those rooms, living there for a very long time. So this is about confronting old characters that have shaped us, and just kind of sitting with those characters, specific people, you know, different, just different, whoever it is, whoever is coming up, and really sit with them in your own mind. Have a moment to meditate on it, and it could just be right before bed or when you get up, and have a good conversation. Have a good conversation in your mind with somebody, and gain some kind of closure, and gain some kind of clarity on why things are the way that they are now, according to, you know, how this person has shaped. Sometimes we think our enemies are just our enemies, but then we learn our enemies are the biggest gurus in our life, right? They're the people who have actually been teaching us our biggest lessons. We love lessons when it comes like from a teacher who you go to class and they're like, here, we're gonna learn this today. But like the best teachers are the ones that just oppose you. The best teachers are the ones that you don't even realize they're teaching you something. So who is it that has taught you something about yourself, that has helped you become stronger, helped you become more in tune, just because they played out an opposite, you know, an opposition or a different force that you ultimately never wanted. And this is important to look at other people's lives too, and kind of respect that. Once again, it's about this energy of like, no, you can't always insert yourself. And I could bring up kids with this because it kind of makes sense. And for Jess, I'm glad this is healing. Because like when you have kids, right, and you see that there's like a bully in that kid's life, you want to go and like beat up the bully for them. But sometimes you gotta show them that even that bully that's in their life is trying to get them to develop their character in a way that they can see beyond and past the bully and move forward. So it's about going back and revisiting those bullies for you, right? It could be even like really small moments from childhood that have really just lingered, that shouldn't. Because there's just a lot of that. Because we're switching paths, and we're trying to live in this realm that is just so much more effortless and connected and lighter. We really are going to be in this process of going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And it's okay. So if your life feels like that, back and forth, back and forth, you're in the right place. You know, that's just, you're in the right place. We can never, Chiron is never going to not be a part of the charts. You know, Pluto is never going to not be the planet. Even though they tried to say Pluto wasn't a planet, Pluto had a huge comeback and was like, no, y'all not going to X me out, you know? So it's like, we're never gonna truly be pure unless we're able to make amends, and that back and forth, and that back and forth is to get you to live within that middle ground, because that's actually all up to us. If we learn how to navigate the highs and lows, then we can find that stability that we crave, right? But sometimes that stability is boring AF. And that's why we want the back and forth and the highs and lows, and we allow ourselves to slip up, because it could get really boring really fast. And there's a part of us as humans that absolutely love the trauma. But that's a whole other story. So yeah, look into your life of where maybe you played into a little bit of those dramas, a little bit more than you should have. And don't be so hard on yourself, but just understand that like there was a part of you that wanted that. There was a part of you that enjoyed it, and find that part and make amends with that part of you as well, because we're finding these characters in our head and just realizing that, you know, they have a mask on of somebody, but when the mask comes off, we're actually left with a trait that in ourselves that we can either keep or shed or evolve. And we're doing so much evolving. It's not an easy process to evolve. It's not an easy process to evolve humanity, but we can all do it in our own ways. Okay. And on the 21st, we're also setting new trends, right? As the moon then passes Chiron and we kind of get out of that energy later in the day, what we're basically seeing is we're setting a new trend for ourselves. Aries sets trends. For any of my Aries people in here, or if you have strong Aries in your chart, you know you do something before somebody else does it, and then you're like, oh yeah, you think this is cool now? You think that's cute, even though I was doing it already and I just didn't care. You're setting trends, and we're setting trends within ourselves of how we want to be and what we want to express. It's like an expressive trend that we could be changing and finding, and then it's like cool, you kind of could find like a new phrase or something that day that you start saying all the time, and you're like, yeah, this is how I want to express myself. It's cool to redo your energetic signature every once in a while, because we all have our own energetic signature. We all have things that, like, if someone hears my voice, for example, they will know who I am before they even see my face, because they know my voice. Or, if you're walking in the street and you're wearing a certain like shirt or bag, someone's gonna be like, yeah, I know who that is. That's what we're finding within ourselves, within our personality, these signature traits that we're getting to, like, change a little and find new traits, new things that we use to express ourselves in the world. And you want to start to put that expression out there. You want to start to, like, use that trait to its advantage, and who cares if people don't understand it? It's going back to that. I hope you find your own voice, and I hope you find your own authenticity, because all of this Aries energy helps the Aquarius energy. Aquarius and Aries sextile each other, which means, they create new. Aries and Aquarius do like each other, because Aquarius could really appreciate how Aries doesn't give a fuck. Even if Aries really gives a fuck, they still are gonna do the thing, because they're ready to just go and do it. And Aquarius likes that, just likes when somebody is about what they say they're about. So we're finding these new things within ourselves that we're like, yeah, this is what I'm about, because we've been put to the test, especially with that Chiron too. You're gonna get put to the test of, like, well, do you say you're about this life? All right, well, if you say you about this life, then, like, what happens when you gotta go through the ringer? What happens when someone challenges you? What are you gonna do? Do you got the facts, or are you going to, take care of yourself? Are you gonna, whatever it is, you get to put it out there and say and show with your actions that you are about what you say you are about, because we all get those challenges, right? You really can't just be out here on the gram talking about it, but then, like, behind closed doors, people in your life are like, but you just posted about that and you're not doing that. This is when things start to add up, and people are like, are you really this quote unquote, whoever the fuck you say you are? And you're gonna get things either revealed to yourself, or you're gonna get to prove major points to others, and that's a dope feeling, especially when you are about it. It's just being real. It's being real about even the things that aren't working, the things that you were like, yeah, I thought I wanted to be vegan, but fuck, I don't want to do that shit no more. I'm eating a freaking McChicken a day, whatever. Right? If that's what it is, it's all good. You are where you are on your journey, and you gotta just be real about it. That's all. People will respect that. People will then want to also support you and help you. Libra, opposite of Aries, they're gonna want to still be a part of your life, because they know that you're not out here lying. That's really all that it is, right? You're transparent. So we're still, once again, all learning collectively how to be a little bit more transparent all across the board in our lives. And that's a beautiful trait to honestly have. If we had more of that, it would be different. It would be a different world. But that's another story too. So we're finally on the 22nd. So what happens on the 22nd? Well, the sun is at 29 degrees. Right, be real. Be real on these reels. Right, be real on these reels. That's a whole fact. But okay, so the 22nd, I put we're finding the sanctuary within. So we have Uranus opposing Venus in Scorpio. And this is a cool one because I don't know if y'all ever heard like the theories on inner Earth, and I was coming to terms with some concepts about how, you know, the sun is basically a star, and technically if a planet is formed around this kind of like gas nebula, then the Earth is a star too. It just has solidified, and that sun that's within the core supposedly has created a inner Earth sanctuary. Maybe, I don't know, just a conspiracy, but you know, in theory maybe it has. And that inner sanctuary, though, that's really what I'm speaking on, is what we are going to be able to find on the 22nd after going through all of this confronting, after going through all of the darkness. And in reality, right, let's talk about inner Earth. In order to get to inner Earth, you have to travel through the underground, through the darkness, which is Venus and Scorpio. You have to be able to not see and just believe, so that you can then find that luxurious place filled with all the finest fruits and water and wine that, you know, you can ever really have. And I'm not just talking about, you know, physically in life, but I'm talking about those inner that inner beauty that you really have stored in you, that energy that is still not has is still innocent, that has not really been fucked with, right? That inner girth or inner Earth. Right, the treasure, exactly, thank you. That inner treasure, and you do have it, right? You have that gold somewhere within you that you can really tap into and feel on the 22nd. And that gold is priceless. It's always going to be valuable. It's eternal. So there's a part of you that is so eternal that within that opposition that we have, we get to shift through that darkness to feel that and to see it and to appreciate it and to gain from it, and grow because that Taurus energy is so much about this growth and how we are being changed through these times. Our foundations are being changed right in front of our faces, and we just have to kind of go with the changes. And once again, know that no matter what situation you're being placed in, no matter what people you're being placed around, you have this gold that you get to give and show and kind of root yourself in. You can root yourself within those treasures, and you have something to offer, something to even physically give back to the people's spaces, whatever you're in. And it's really beautiful. So we have that opportunity to start to take from that inner sanctuary, right? Take from those treasures and take a gold coin and use it in our life and pay for something that we want, right? Paying is an exchange. It doesn't have to be money, right? It can be an exchange of time. It can be an exchange of resources or anything. And you can now see how you're able to barter within this world in a different way than you were ever able to before, and kind of barter with even people and places you've never really met before, because we're still getting closer to the new. We're not completely there, so we're having these exchanges, Venus and Scorpio in the dark, trying to get to that inner sanctuary, but knowing that there's a little bit of a light you can see, right? So once you go in the rabbit hole too, right? You can't go backwards. There's no such thing. There's only forward in the rabbit hole, and it never ends. So you can get dropped off through that portal to a place, a time, an understanding, a concept, or whatever, and you can be like, okay, yeah, this is dope, but you're gonna have to keep going, because really there's only really forward, but that's what we're really tapping into on the 22nd with that opposition between Uranus and Venus, which is like really also trying to shake up the way that what we want as our foundation in terms of other people, in terms of how we make our money, in terms of where we even want to live, and what kind of valuables, what do we think is valuable. Those things are also still shifting, and you want to allow them to shift. Something that could have been really important to you could be no more, and you're gonna have to adapt to things that are just different, that you actually give a shit about now, and that's only gonna grow from here. And then the 23rd, we end the week on Thursday the 23rd, well, at least my cosmic check-in week, and the moon then moves into Taurus to kind of set these vibes in of that Uranus and Venus opposition. The moon goes there. Your soul now, your emotions start to get a lot more grounded into this inner earth sanctuary vibe. And you start to see what it takes, like what kind of resources around you that you're going to have to start to learn how to stabilize in your life. Whether it be conversations with a friend, or even like something like getting therapy on a regular basis, we're gonna start to understand what it takes to really keep tapping back into this grounded, stable place that we all have within us. And the other beautiful thing is that on the 23rd, we're in Libra season, so happy birthday, almost, to all my Libras. It's our time. It's our time. That's all I gotta say. And this Libra season is going to be one for the books for everybody. We're going to be coming into such new types of conversations and discussions and deals with others, investments. We're gonna be coming into so much. October is when a lot of the planets start to go direct. We've been dealing with a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and basically, yeah, right, at least 6 planet retrograde for months now. In October, this Libra season is when things are going to start to move forward one by one, and we're going to start to feel that. But it's not going to necessarily be easy. It's going to be a lot of people, a lot of judgments, because that's the other thing that comes with that Libra energy. It's going to be judgy AF. And, in order to keep in tune with those higher laws, you want to stay out of judgment, because judgment is really the downfall. Judgment is the downfall of religions, everything. It has, as much as we preach not to judge, we find that people somehow end up back into judgment. And judgment is what causes all of these separations and the disharmony, right? So we want to stay clear of these harsh judgments. The only person we can really judge is ourselves. The only thing we can really judge is our lives, and in what direction we're going, and how aligned we are. That's literally it. So that's where you want to be, and we're starting to align with more people that kind of align with that. But the downfall too of this Aquarius energy is that you're gonna find groups of people who all make each other's judgments feel right. They confirm each other's delusion. That's what we want to stay clear of. You don't really, like, your tribe, you're gonna know your tribe, you're gonna know who your people are, but you also want to be aligned with people who aren't basing their identity in comparison to everyone else. Because if that's what it is, it's not gonna last. That's kind of setup, that kind of collective is going to start to crash within this next year. It's not a stable foundation. It's not going to be able to hold, and it's not going to be able to attract abundance because it is separate and it's restrictive, and it doesn't allow certain people to come into its lines. We have to be open. We have to be open, so open like we've never been before. And it's hard. It's not easy, especially when this has to do with like your family and people that you love. It gets even harder. But we do have to be open, and we do have to remember once again that you're always the villain in somebody's story. You are going to be the hero in some people's stories, but you're going to be the villain in other people's stories at the same damn time. And that's cool. That's okay. You can be both. You are both. You are the antagonist and the protagonist, and that's just the way it is. Cue the music. But yeah, it's gonna be Libra season, and it's gonna be one hell of a ride. So get ready to network on a new level. And we might find that a lot of the networking that we end up doing is with people that are online, people like us here. And we're finding that even with complete strangers, we can have that reflection, we can have that understanding that if you look, you'll find the ways that we all connect, and the red thread that keeps us all together, that binds us all as a people. And that once again, we're always talking to ourselves, and we're always listening to ourselves talk and experience, because we're all different fractals of the same gem. We're all have different eyes, so different views, but it's within this same larger body. And we're gonna start to really see and understand that, especially this Libra season, of how that works, and why we start to like meet strangers and fall completely in love, right, with someone we've never met before or hardly know. Why things like that happen in life. We're gonna start to come into that kind of energy. So once again, this week is a big week. It's a full moon. We're releasing a lot, and we're also sitting within this vision of this beautiful life that we want to see, that we want to feel. And you want to follow your feelings, and you want to tap into your real desires. You want to open the doors to the parts of yourself that you've not addressed in years, and find the junk that's there, clean it out, because we get these few days to do so, and then we're bam in the middle of one of the most social seasons of the year. Arguably the most social season of the year is when the fall hits, and we're in Libra season, right? It's all about being social, even for the most antisocial people. So get ready to all these little nuggets of wisdom and gold that you find, that trend that you start to set while the moon's in Aries, and you start to find your expression, and you start to like want to lead from that new place. Put that into effect in Libra season, and watch where it takes you, because it's going to take you on a ride. But thank y'all. I'm gonna, it's gonna be a beautiful week. Expect your energy levels to move up and down still, because we're definitely gonna. And look, Chris, if you want to be a hermit, that's okay. You're gonna try to hermit, but you're a Gemini. You can't hermit. Get back to me and let me know if that's successful. But yeah, too much air energy for you to hermit. I'm sorry, that's just not gonna happen. I'm gonna just tell you. But it's okay. We'll have another session, and we'll get to it. Yeah, thank y'all again. Let's just take a second. Let's take a second to be grateful for our lives. Let's take a second to be grateful for whatever happened today. for all of the thoughts, all of the people that we have come across. Let's just take a second to be grateful, because that's what we have, you know? We have to be. I can't say enough. We have to be grateful every single day of our lives. Yeah, and I'm honored that you're here with me, honestly. Not too late to go outside. Right. I'm glad that, you know, everyone is showing up for themselves in ways that you couldn't have even imagined you would show up for yourself. That's the beauty of this kind of energy. And you know what? I will pull from my oracle deck just to close out. I hit my knee. I'm gonna pull from this deck for y'all. Let's just see what comes up for us, and then I will bid my adieu. I don't even know if I'm saying that correctly, but yeah, I love the Moon and Aqua vibes. It's just, this is my energy. This is my energy. Mars and Libra, as frustrating as it is, it has done me well. I have learned a lot of emotional patience, and I'm going to learn a lot more, just like we all are. Patience is the name of the game. But remember, all or nothing. This week is all or nothing, because either everyone's invested 100% or they're not. So the first person to say stop in the comments is when I'll stop shuffling and pull the card. So whoever wants to say stop, just type it and I will stop. We got cards falling out, but that's fine. Anybody? I'll be here all night. Okay, cool. Thank you, Maggie. Right, cracked open. So, it's a great card. So we got cracked open, rock bottom, and surrender to the alchemy of life. So like I was talking about, you know, that alchemy, this is a moon that has so much to do with the alchemical process that's taking place, and that's why it feels crazy. If you've never learned about alchemy and all of the stages of it, Google it. It's not coming to my mind right now, but if anyone knows what it's called, like, there's a bunch of different stages to alchemy and how it's also explained within like ancient texts, and you want to just read it, just skim some of that, and understand that this is a process that we're all undergoing right now. So it's going to shift you through these different moods, these Piscean like moods all over the place, and all you got. And yeah, it is transmutation. Like transmutation is one of the stages as well. But you might feel or have that moment of rock bottom. This is not rock bottom. Like I said before, this is that checkpoint. So you're at the new rock bottom. Does that make sense? You're at the new level 1 for this next chapter, this next phase. And 11 of 11, beautiful. You know, you're not really at the bottom like how you were before, but this is a new level that you're only going to ascend from here. You're only going to go up from here. And that's really what that cracked open is about. So allow yourself to feel the shedding of that skin and continue to expose yourself and feel the parts of you that are getting exposed, because there's only light there. There's light, just like how I was saying that there's a sun and then there's that ball of light in Earth, in the center of Earth. There's light within the darkness, literally. It's not even a joke. It's a literal thing. That ball of light in the middle of Earth is what is trying to shine through from the other side. So you want to feel the light come from the other side. It's not all darkness. It's not all darkness. So surrender. Just surrender for this weekend especially, and for this new moon. Let bygones be bygones, and let the chips fall and the cards fall where they may. Place your bets, place your bets, but do it randomly. Don't even think, and just see what comes from that. Thank you all again. I love you. If you want to donate to me, the donation is right there. Cash App and Venmo. And if you need to get a reading, come on down. I'm available. I can also recommend you to some amazing people who do different things like abundance, for example, really going deep within different parts of your charts, all types of stuff. So, you know, if you need assistance and you feel that call, only if you feel the call, this isn't a marketing infomercial, this is divine business. You know, I only do divine business on this side. But stay tuned and check in next week with me. I'll be back. Love you guys and have a beautiful night.